NUFC Undisputed.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new show. We are live here again on NUFC Talk TV. My name is Chris, the American Mag. I got with me, of course, the Mighty Win, Derek, the Mighty Win. I got Colin, Super Mag. You got, old players, legends, and they don't even live up to the expectation. But anyways, we are here to have a debate about the person, the player that you saw on the thumbnail. First of all, Sandro Tonali. First of all, shout out to Roy Caviani for shaving his beard. Amazing show on the Hoof It podcast. So shout out to you. You were a man of your word, man. You should that is a proper gentleman right there. He shook his hand. He was going to shave his beard, and he finally did it. It took a while though. It took convincing, but he got it done. So shout out to those guys. DX as well. Great show that they just had a while ago, just now. I apologize for being late, but of course it's okay because he was shaving his beard, and we were going to watch that anyway. But now we can get onto the debate about Sandro Tonali. Will Sandro Tonali succeed at Newcastle? That's one of the questions. Is the jury still out on Tonali? But not only that, the Mighty Win has gone out and beyond to say a few conspiracy theories behind.
Well, no, I haven't just come out with those. At the time.
Well, don't interrupt me when I'm doing the intro, man. Have some manners. Respect, brother. Anyway, you have said
only where it's due.
You have come out with some conspiracy theories talking about what if Milan's plan was to sell Tonali. He will do his ban because the ban was coming one way or another, and then they get him back. But what you're not taking in consideration is that Newcastle has a say in this. He is a Newcastle player. Colin, I believe he's leaning towards the opposite end of things. So we're going to have a healthy debate, a heated debate if we can, if we need to. If it goes that way, it's fine. We're all in front of our cameras anyway, so nobody's going to lay a hand on each other. Mighty Win knows anyway who will win that battle. But and you guys will have the opportunity to vote who has won this debate tonight. So who knows how long we're going to go. But one thing for sure is I ask you to hit that like button, help us grow, help us get more magpies on the show, and of course subscribe if you're new, and you can become a member. That way you can support us. That way get exclusive content, and you'll be able to watch England versus Denmark. When is it, tomorrow? Yeah, it is tomorrow, isn't it? Oh, no, is it right? Tomorrow? Thursday. Anyway, for members only. So there you go. All right. So I'm gonna give the Mighty Win, since he's the elder statement. He's the old guy of the team. Colin, he's 45. Oh man, tell me, what is your stance? What do you think about Sandro Tonali? And then we're gonna go from there.
Well, what we've got to do is go back to when we signed him. When we signed him, Sandro Tonali was Mr. Milan. He was their Alan Shearer, homegrown lad who was pulling up trees for them, playing like a man possessed. His value at the time was probably somewhere in the region 80-90 million. We turn up and we get him for 53 million. We're all thinking, and hell, that's a bargain. And then when he arrives, we suddenly start hearing these rumours about him being done for gambling by the Italian FA. And I said at the time, no way could proceedings be that far along the line without AC Milan knowing about it. And I said, I can see a situation here where they've sold him to us at a knockdown price. He'll serve his ban whilst he's at Newcastle, and then they'll end up buying him back after he's done his ban here, or getting him back somehow. And now all of a sudden, Gazzetta dello Sport, biggest football journal in Italy, is peddling rumours that because we are after Tomori, the centre-back, England international centre-back, for them, that we could be considering a swap deal whereby we get Tomori and they get Tonali back. Top of this, I was at the San Siro for the Milan game, and I saw the ovation that Tonali received from the Milan crowd. It was exceptional. We couldn't quite believe what was happening. We thought, if anything, he would get booed when he went back for leaving them. And by the way, when he left them, it was like it was out of the blue. Nobody had seen it coming. And so I'm then suddenly now putting two and two together and saying, what's going to happen here potentially? That Tonali is either going to deliberately not play well, so he gets dropped, or he engineers, orchestrates a row between another player maybe or Eddie, and bad blood starts getting created where there's a need to get rid of him, and who'll be waiting in the wings to snap him up but his beloved AC Milan. Now, the jury is still out on how good a player Tonali's going to be in the league. Personally, I think he's going to be perfectly okay, be a good player for us in the Prem. And that's based largely on the love and affection and respect that he had from the Milan. He must have been some player for them, is what I'm saying. I didn't watch him then for AC Milan, playing for AC Milan. But whatever he did must have been pretty spectacular for him to have the love and respect that he had from the Milan fans. And just with this turning up in the papers today, I'm thinking, rabbit off here. Now, I'll be honest, when he was getting banned, and then I had he's got an addiction, all this stuff. Now, we don't want to get into all the medical and psychological things about gambling problems and all that. But to me, if you've got a gambling problem and you've come over here with a gambling problem, and then you continue to bet on football whilst you're here, that's not a gambling problem, Gamble on another sport. There's a million sports you can gamble on. You don't have to gamble on football.
Well, I mean, that's unfair, because what if he is an addict? We don't know. We can't say one way or another.
He's a specific addict to gamble on football.
Well, yeah, I mean, he might want to just like gambling on football. Why does he have to gamble on baseball?
A gambling addiction is people who are addicted to wanting something for nothing, basically. Now, he's a multi-millionaire. Why does he need to gamble? That's one of the first things.
I'm not buying
But having said that, there's lots of examples of footballers in the past who have had gambling addictions, and so obviously having money doesn't necessarily prevent you wanting to have a gamble and win more money. So that's fine. But when you've got that, when you already know you've been done specifically for gambling on football, for to then continue to do it when you came over here, I was really pissed off with him. Well pissed off with him when I heard that out. And then we had the situation where Eddie said, right, I'm going to introduce him to the crowd in the game. And he asked everybody to applaud him. And so in respect of Eddie, I actually did applaud him. And then it'll feel like a complete kick in the nuts if what I'm thinking might happen does happen.
All right. Well, okay. So that's Mighty Wind side, which has caused a volcano, an eruption of comments in the comment section, no pun intended, against him. But that he feeds off of that anyway. You know, he likes, the negative comments towards him. Uh, Colin, let me give you the floor. What do you think about what your counterpart that you've known for a long time, that I'm assuming your friendship is going to take a hit after what he said just now? So respond, please.
Well, first of all, I cannot believe Derek believes everything he reads in the papers, never mind the Sun over here, but also, the Galactico Italiano or whatever the hell it's called, right? I just think, I'll sum it up in one word, I think it's just bollocks, right? To really believe that AC Milan and Tonali, so, you're talking about the directors of AC Milan here, a huge club, and Tonali get together, sit down, and they say to him, right, buddy, we know you've been gambling. We know you're going to get caught. We know the Italian FA or whatever it is are already on to you. So I'll tell you what we're going to do to get out of this, right? What we're going to do is we're going to sell you to Newcastle United for 53 million quid, right? Now, when you get over there, right, we know you're going to get caught later on. So what we want you to do is we want you to either play badly or fall out with the manager or kick the nuts of one of the players and, whatever. And then what will happen is after you get banned, we're going to keep all of this quiet, We're not going to tell anybody. Don't tell your missus because she might tell her mates. And if her mates tell her mates and all the rest of it, people might find out about it because we're not going to tell anybody here. So we'll keep all this fucking big plan secret. And then at the end of the ban, what we'll do is we'll swap you for Tomori, yeah? How about that, right? Aye. What a load of... Come on. Come on. There's no way that has happened. Absolutely. I mean, come on, Derek, you're going to be telling people,
hold on.
Derek, I never spoke when you spoke, so please give me the floor. It's my floor, right? So the next thing you're going to be doing, right, is telling us, right, that, the moon landings were fake and they were filmed in a flipping Hollywood studio, or that flipping Prince Philip organized the assassination of Princess Diana, or that the earth is flat. All of those things, right, are as much a nonsense as that AC Milan and Tonali sat down and came up with this conspiracy concoction, right, to get him transferred to Newcastle and get him transferred back. It's a load of bollocks, right? Now, one of the things I would say, right, is that I didn't, as you know, I didn't stand up and applaud. I was one of the few people that didn't take me arse off my seat. When Tonali came on for his last game, and we knew it was going to be his last game before he got suspended. No bloody way. I sat on my hands, and I decided I was going to do that before I went, because we've touched on it. This is not a kid. People are saying, oh, he's a young man. No, he's not. No, he's married. I think he's got a child. He's 23 years old. He's an adult. And if he wants to bet... If he gets a thrill from betting, I understand that, and I understand that that can turn out into an addiction. But at the end of the day, he's not somebody who isn't in control of his own mind. He's decided to bet on football, knowing that if he got caught, the biggest punishment wasn't going to be to him. It was going to be to the club that he played for, because he was going to get banned. So what's happened is, when he's got banned for Newcastle, I'm sure they haven't paid his full wages. But I'll tell you what, even if they've only paid a tenth of his wages, he'll have got, 15 grand a week. 15 grand a week. What it's cost Newcastle could be 15 million, 20 million, because... we didn't get that place in Europe. We didn't have a £53 million player for 95% of the season. He knew if he got caught,
Yeah.
that he would get banned. He would still earn some money, but the biggest effect, detrimental effect, would be on the club he played for. He's an idiot. Now, I hope there's no truth at all in this swap with Tomori. Because if there is, that would mean that AC Milan have approached one way or another Tonali and said, would you be interested in coming back here if we sent in a swap deal for Tomori? If that's happened and he's said, yes, I would be interested, to me, that's nearly as bad as what he's done with his gambling, because he should have a loyalty to us to stay here for another season, at least to try and repay the club for the loyalty that we've showed him, for the applause that the fans have given him. I know when he comes back and plays in that first game, the whole crowd's going to stand up. I get that, right? Because everybody's been behind him. I've slaughtered him for his gambling addiction, but the vast majority of fans haven't. He knows that. And what he should, I hope there's no truth at all in this rumour, because if there is, and he's indicated that he would be interested in going back to Milan, then to me, he goes on the floor, in my opinion, with his reputation. So that's where I stand on it. I'm sorry I'm sitting on the fence, but that's how I feel.
But yeah, but see that's perfect. See, I think like Colin, you know, and I don't want to be against. I'm always disagreeing with Mighty Win, so maybe that's why. Because I do agree. I don't really buy the gambling part, which is, but we just won't know. I mean, because it doesn't matter really. We won't know. The fact of the matter is that he made. I don't know. There's got to be a word between mistake and a crime. There's got to be a middle word there, where because both of those sound like, you know, mistake sounds like it shouldn't have happened. A crime sounds too hard. So, you know, somewhere around there. Now, Eddie Howe has said this because Markey said all wages were suspended. That's not necessarily true. He took a pay cut. The 20, there's no that can't happen anyways. He's got to live. You know, he's got to get paid. But it says that the 23-year-old has not received the full 120K per week salary while unable to play. Howe said it was something that he wanted to do. He felt the guilt, and he felt that joining a new club, it was something he wanted to show the club in good faith that he was sorry and was determined to put it behind him and try to learn from it. Now, Mighty Win, I don't even know if you really believe what you're saying, because this whole thing.
Well,
I do agree that Milan knew. Milan knew, and obviously.
Okay, so there's the starting point. Let's go back to the starting point.
But I don't believe that.
You don't believe that? Hold on.
Hang on.
Absolutely not.
Right. So, Colin, you're telling me that AC Milan, second biggest, depending on Juventus, whatever you want to believe, club in Italy, haven't got wires into the Italian FA. Is that what you honestly believe? So
well, I don't know about
hang on. Do you believe, for example, that if the Premier League or the Football League, the Football Association, are making decisions that, say, Man United haven't got somebody in there that's telling them what's going on? And similarly, in Italy, can you seriously tell me you don't believe that AC Milan have got
right?
Derek, they might even have a director in.
Yeah. Derek, I know where you're coming from, but I'll tell you this, or I'll say this to you. If that's the case, if AC Milan knew and they had connections with the Italian FA, who knew that Tonali had been gambling, who knew that this other guy had snitched on him or whatever. However, if AC Milan knew, what we're basically saying is that throughout this whole period between signing Tonali getting banned, and now, PIF with all of their resources, with all of whatever they will have looked at this without a shadow of a doubt. No matter what Eddie Howe says about us supporting this, that's for the public to hear. Behind the scenes, PIF have paid £53 million for a player who played 5 or 6 games for us and then gets banned. They ain't going to be happy about that. They're going to be fuming about that behind the scenes. They're going to be asking questions. They're going to be asking questions, right? Who signed him? What DD did you do? Is there any way? And then if they would follow that through, and the first thing they're going to ask is the question that you've asked. Did AC Milan know? Did they know?
Don't you
And
think
behind the scenes, they will have done. And if they would have found that out, you can bet your bottom dollar mine that there would be a legal action going on against AC Milan, because that would be disgraceful if they had sold him to us, knowing at the end of the day that he was going to get banned.
So you're saying there's no way we as a club didn't know about it because we didn't act on it, meaning there was nothing to act on.
Yeah.
But if I look at it from the perspective of, well, if you're having those problems where you're gambling, you can keep it hidden, of course. That's one way of looking at it. But if it's not, because obviously you got these teammates of him that were doing as well that got caught, an Aston Villa lad and another Italian lad. So it's not like it was a secret. And the FA had been investigating this before, obviously the ban and all that, before they exploded. So I don't know. They might have been saying that the Italian FA, I don't know what they have to do with this situation, but the manager would have known, and I'm assuming that the club would have known.
I don't know that the manager would necessarily have known, but I find it absolutely incredible that a club of AC Milan stature in Italy would not have known that those charges were coming round the corner. They might not have been completely formulated and cast and done yet, but they would have known that there was an investigation being undertaken. I think it's naive not to think that they would have known that.
But
Colin, he has the next thing. Because I agree with you, Colin, that PIF, with all their resources, would have been able somehow to get to the bottom of it and prove categorically that AC Milan were aware of those circumstances. And as I said, again, at the time, any contract worth its salt in any sphere of business, including football, every single contract includes a clause to the effect of, and that this would be AC Milan's contract with Newcastle United and Newcastle's contract with Sandro Tonali, are you aware of any circumstances which would invalidate this contract? Are you aware of any circumstances? Every single contract has words to that effect in it. And obviously, both Tonali has signed his and AC Milan have signed theirs. However, here's the thing. What if AC Milan have turned around to PIF and said, look, this is what's going on. You can have Sandro Tonali, and instead of paying 90 million for him, you can have him for 50 million. So PIF were totally aware of it the whole time.
Oh, Derek, come on.
Well,
Derek, can I just say, right, and there's been a few comments coming up on the screen here that we got Tonali on the cheap. We got Tonali on the cheap. Where does this £90 million valuation come from? Where does it come from? AC Milan, you've got, Everton are putting a £90 million valuation on Braithwaite. Man United have offered 35 million for him. I can guarantee you now that Braithwaite, if he does go, will go for nowhere near 90 million, right? So this 90 million valuation and this thing about we got Tonali on the cheap and therefore there's got to be something up, because no way would AC Milan have sold a prize asset for 53 million. I just don't buy that at all. AC Milan needed the money. There are a lot of, the Italian league, the Spanish league, these leagues are nowhere near in terms of, money in the leagues comparative to the Premiership as they were, 20 odd years ago. There's very few of their players are sold for that amount of money. So to me, being, 53 million for Tonali, no, we didn't get him on the cheap. We paid 53 million for him. And the other thing is, I have to say, in terms of whether Tonali, whether Tonali is going to be a 53 million pound player for us in the same sort of bracket as what you might say Bruno was for the less than 40 million we paid for him. Isaac, 63 million. I have to say, from the evidence that I've seen in the games that he played, the jury's well out. He was way overhyped in the game against Aston Villa, I've got to say. Yes, he scored. I mean, everybody was sort of up the height. I was actually sitting, and here's the thing, right? I was sitting directly 2 seats behind Tonali's dad. So when Tonali scored, there was a guy in front of me who I didn't recognise in the Platinum Club. I thought, who the hell is he? He's jumping all over the place and whatever. And a guy in front, one of the lads in front of me who I know, sitting there, he said, "That's Tonali's dad. That's Tonali's dad." At the end of the game, I said, Magnifico and all of that, or whatever else it is, right? But however, in that, and give him a cuddle, and but Tonali in that game, yes, he scored. Yes, he played decent, but he was way overhyped. It wasn't a fantastic performance, right? It was a decent performance, but it wasn't a fantastic performance. It was overhyped, right? Which you get a lot of when you sign a new player and he scores on his debut and he whatever, right? In the other games that he played for us, I have to say he did nothing special at all. And the amount of times I saw him get the ball and just pass it straight back to the player who passed it to him. And I was saying to the lads around me, watch this, Tonali, when he gets the ball, the first thing he does, he just passes it straight back to the guy who gave it to him. So to me, right, the jury's out on whether he's worth 53 million. I hope he is. I hope he turns out to be a cracking player for us. But the jury's out on him, man.
Okay, so as far as valuation goes, he never actually went above the amount that we paid for him throughout his career. The highest it was 50 in 2022, maintained 2022, later 22, and then June 23 is about the same. 50 until we paid. It says that we paid 60 for him with everything, but the Chronicle says 52. So somewhere around there. So it to be fair to say that Colin has a point.
Yeah, but that's because Transfermarkt just
but we can't. We gotta believe something. I mean, we because we don't have
Chris,
the document.
We say every week that Transfermarkt valuations are ridiculously undervalued.
Well, you say that. I don't know.
You don't know, do you not? You normally do, but you're doing tonight, right? Or,
no, I don't know. You told me that, so I fell for it. But I mean, how do I know what the valuation is? And at the end of the day, all that is nonsense. Is what the club pays for.
Evaluation. I'll tell you what evaluation is. I had an estate agency for years, as Derek knows. I'll tell you what evaluation is. What a seller's willing to sell for and what a buyer's willing to pay. Right.
Correct.
That's what the valuation is.
Yep.
That's and also. Just like in selling a house or selling anything, it depends on how motivated the seller is to get the money and how motivated the buyer is to buy what's there. So different people will pay different amounts for the same thing. Somebody will sell. You could have two players. You could have twins, two Jude Bellinghams. Both playing, one playing for Barcelona, one playing for Real Madrid. Both players exactly the same. Let's just assume, right? But Real Madrid are in the shit with money, right? They're up their eyes, but they've got a bloody Spanish PSR going on and all the rest of it. They need to sell a player. Are they going to sell a player for less than what Barcelona are? Who aren't on the shit? Of course they are, right? So there's a lot of factors that go into how much you pay for a player. Under Ashley's days, he paid cash. So, he paid the money up front. So we probably got players for less money than a club that was going to pay, on installments. So,
right. Then. So hang on. Let's break it down to the basics again. Then. Do you believe or do you not believe that AC Milan knew a charge was coming around the corner?
No, I don't believe it.
But so let me cut in right there. But Colin, it's awful obvious and awful coincidental that the one time where he makes the move, because he's been playing for a minute, and that he gets caught away from where he's at. You gotta. I mean, I'm not saying that you got to believe that that the club knew, but it doesn't look right. You know what I mean? There's people that can hold on to, like Mighty Win, that thinks that they have a reason to believe that. Or do you think that?
I get. Look, I get that, and sometimes, with the reason why a lot of conspiracy theories become what you might call,
credible,
well believed, are because there are circumstances which can lead you to believe that there is a conspiracy. But did AC? What we're saying here is let's come back to this. What we're saying is that AC Milan knowingly sold their best player, the player the fans love, the player, whatever you want to call it, right? The icon of AC Milan. The reason why AC Milan sold him was because they knew he was going to get a ban for gambling. And so what they did was, however they did it, right, they enticed Newcastle into paying £53 million for him.
If you look at it that way, yeah. But what look at it this way. What about me as a club? I'm the president, and I have a troubled kid and it could be anybody. It could be Dele Alli. It could be anybody, right? That is troubled, and he's just not pulling his end of the bargain. So you know what? We gotta sell him. This is a business at the end of the day. No conspiracy, no ill will. You just gotta sell him. There is somebody that wants to buy him. What about that? Could you agree with that?
But I think, I mean, the other thing, right? The other thing here is, let's look at, and again, a lot of what we are talking about here in terms of the whole Tonali situation is just what our opinions are, either from what we've read in the press or conclusions that we've put together from the information that we know. But we've got very little factual information. One of the things that Howe said was that they've been looking at Tonali. The reason why they went for Tonali was because he was a player who had been on their radar for some time. And that is the reason why. So they'd put a bid, again, this is going from what you read in the press, that they'd put a bid in for Barella, but Barella wasn't for sale at any price. So the next in line for that midfield position was Tonali. So if they'd been monitoring, they didn't. If we're saying that, AC Milan sold Tonali to Newcastle because they knew he was going to be under Newcastle. Newcastle had been watching him for whatever time it might have been, a year, 18 months, I don't know. In the same way that they'd been watching Bruno, in the same way that they'd been watching Isak. Isak was signed out of the blue, but Newcastle didn't just, somebody at Newcastle didn't wake up one day and say, hey, I'll tell you what, right? Let's put a bid in for that Isak today. No, they've been watching him for a while. We've been a professional outfit now for a couple of years. Tonali was on the radar. They went for Barella. The deal was knocked back. They would have had a 1, 2, 3 priority of who they were going to make an offer for. They made an offer for Tonali. AC Milan, 53 million. AC Milan took it. To me, they did not know at that time that Tonali was going to get a ban. They didn't.
All right. The next question is, he's here already. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. He will be back, I believe, the third game of the season, if I'm not mistaken. He's going to miss 2 games. So that would be Liverpool. Is that away or at home? Away, right?
Home.
No, Spurs, I think, is the first game.
Spurs, that's right. Spurs, 31st.
Yeah. So that's going to be
Spurs at home.
So, yeah, there's going to be Spurs. So, yep, and that's going to be at home. So, what can we expect? I mean, we think that he's going to be a starter in this team.
I don't think he'll be a starter.
Okay, you don't think so? What can we expect in the beginning? He's going to have the pressure to perform. This is nonsense that he's just coming in and is going kumbaya, hold hands, and no, that's people. Fans are going to put pressure on him, because they're going to want to see, especially when you see a Longstaff that hasn't performed as people thought he was going to perform after a good season, the previous one, and I think he's going to start in that place right there. But let me go with you, Mighty Win. Why don't you think that he's going to start? What can you expect? Is he going to be one of our best players next season?
Well, I hope he's going to be one of. I just go back to the reception he got in Milan.
Yeah, but that's Milan, man.
No, for him to get that reception, he had to be some player. That's all I'm saying. I didn't watch him at the time, so I don't know. But I agree, surprisingly, with Colin in terms of what he did for Newcastle when people were raving about him, very much sideways and backwards. There wasn't a lot of thrust at all, other than the odd run he made against Villa. It's just not Eddie's style to throw a player in at the deep end.
Is that a good thing? Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, I'm quite happy with Eddie's results so far. So let's say it's a good thing. He did it with Bruno. He just eased him in gradually. Tonali was slightly different because he had a full pre-season with us, and so he was obviously ready to come in. And it could be. I'm hoping that his mediocre form that we've witnessed in a black and white shirt had a lot to do with what was weighing on his mind, what was coming round the corner, that he knew was coming round the corner. So I'm putting I'm hopefully putting his mediocre performances down to that, because as we've seen with a couple of Newcastle players, when you've got other things on your mind other than just football, you can take your eye off the ball, literally. But I'm really looking forward to as I said, I thought if we'd had a full squad last season, we could have been challenging at the top. We had the best defence in the league. And if you put that best defence behind Bruno, Tonali, and J7, and them three behind Gordon, Isak, and even Miggy, you know, with the squad we had, but let's assume we get a decent right winger in. You know, bearing in mind you've got Wilson to come in as well. You would have had Murphy to come in as well. You would have had Barnes to come in as well up top. I think that squad there, without buying anybody new, would have challenged for the top, the very top.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. If we go as far as Tonali's concerned, at the end of the day, the guy's he hasn't played competitive football for 10 months. 10 months.
I agree.
He's coming in. Well, hang on a second again. I didn't interrupt you, Derek, so give me the floor, right? So he hasn't played.
We've got the conch.
Right. He hasn't played competitive football for whatever it is, 9 or 10 months. The other thing is he's going to come back after that length of time into the Premier League. And the Premier League, it's a bit of a cliche, but it's true. It's the toughest league in the world. It's the toughest league in the world. There are plenty of players. I mean, just off the top of my head, you know, that bloody winger that Arsenal signed for 80 million, Werner, who Arsenal, or was it, I can't remember it right. You can name player after player after player who, even in, you know, the last 2 or 3 seasons, who have been signed for big bucks, 50, 60, 70, 80 million pounds, who have been
90 million, Anthony.
The left winger at Chelsea, whatever he's called,
Modric,
right? Mudryk, right? They've come over. They'll have been loved by their fans, adored by their fans, worshipped by the fans, you know, from the clubs that they've played for. They've come here and they've struggled because it's a different level altogether. The pace of the game is so much faster. The other big thing in our league is, you know, there's not a bad team. You know, Luton beat us, for God's sake, last season. You know, bloody Nottingham. The teams at the bottom are capable of beating the teams at the top. That isn't the case, and regularly doing that. That isn't the case in other leagues. So where I'm coming from is to expect Tonali or any player who has only had 4 or 5 games in the Premiership, and that was 9 or 10 months ago, to then come in right from the off and be a starter after 10. I just don't think that's going. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think he'll be on the bench, and I think he'll be introduced into the side, and Eddie's going to see how he's going. Now, the other thing, and again, I never watched Tonali when he played for AC Milan. The little bit that I did see of him, and I did hear about him, was that he was more of a DM, a defensive midfielder, than a creative or attacking midfielder. But he hasn't shown that to me when he's played. I never saw him get a tackle in or crunch the ball or elbow somebody off it the way that, Joe can do. And Joe's not a defensive midfielder, by the way. So I'm not too sure exactly, what role, Tonali's, going to play. I mean, if he's going to play in a 3 with Bruno and Big Joe, Joe's going to be on the left, Bruno's going to be in the middle, he's going to be on the right. I'm not, again.
They're similar. They got similar skills.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, I just, I'm not. And again, I can only base an opinion on what I've seen. I hope I'm wrong. Well, I hope he turns out to be a brilliant signing, because at the end of the day, I couldn't give a monkey's. I've supported Newcastle. I went to my first game, I think, in something like 1959 or something with my dad. I'm 70 years old. You know, I'm a Newcastle fanatic. I've never seen us win a domestic. Same with Derek. You know, I was at the Fairs Cup final, the home game. You know, apart from that, you know, I've never seen us win anything. So I couldn't give a monkey's which 11 players are playing for Newcastle, to be honest. All I want to do is to see us win something in my lifetime, right? So Tonali, bloody hell, I hope he's a flipping whiz kid. I hope he steps out on that pitch and he's scoring a hat-trick every bloody game. But at the end of the day, what I've seen of him, to me, the jury's out. And I don't think he'll start. I think I just can't see that after 10 months out of the game, not being used to the pace. If you're in training matches, it ain't the same as playing in the Premier League, man. So I don't think he's going to be a star.
Well, I think Andrew Bell was saying in the comment section that Eddie has said that he's been training at top form and he's not stopped training at all. Which match is a match fit is, I guess, different, but I mean, it's not like he hasn't played any football. And on top of that, you got somebody that doesn't perform, that hasn't been performing, and that's Longstaff, the other midfielder. So the competition is not really who you got.
Who
Joe
says
White.
Longstaff hasn't been performing though?
I personally believe that. I think they might win. Would you say that?
Well, I'll go along with that.
Exactly. So, but that. I mean, but hold on. Let me go to the comments. Let me go to the comments.
I think was he right? I'm not right. Let's get this straight. I'm not saying Longstaff. I've criticised Longstaff as much as anybody else has. But I think there's always a player or two or three, right? But normally a couple of players who are the stool pigeon, who people criticise, and like everything else, it goes over the top. So it went over the top on Tonali's debut, and I think it goes over the top a bit on Longstaff. Longstaff played. Which, remember, last season, for a lot of the season, he played with an injury. He played with an injury because we had no other alternative to playing. The injury wasn't bad enough to stop him playing, but it was bad enough to affect his game. Howe admitted that. Longstaff said that as well. Yet he still scored, was it 7 or 8 goals, and he had about 6 assists or something or whatever. So, you know, when you look at it, if you actually compare Longstaff's statistics, and I actually saw this on the NUFC blog, somebody put up Longstaff's statistics compared to other what you might call top-ranked Premier midfielders, and I'll tell you what, when you see them, he's done a lot better than what a lot of people think, man.
Yep.
He deserves criticism, but not the amount of criticism that he's had.
All right, let's go with the comments because the folks have been commenting, and some of them have been. So bear in mind, don't get butt hurt. It is what it is. Bear Viking says fire sale must be a reason. Woodby Farmer says Win says it is Tonali gate. Tonali just like Nixon in '72. Yeah. Niall says that's the funniest rumor I've heard in weeks. Talking about Mighty Win. Ronald Turnbull says Win, you're talking rubbish. Beer Viking, AC Milan got no money. PIF are looking to invest in Milan, was reported back in March. That is true too. Bandit, well said, Win. You're spot on here about Tonali. This is mafia. Never forget huge business. I wouldn't go out on a limb and say that Italians are mafia related, or everybody, I think that was back in the day. I guess I don't know. Lee McFarlane, nonsense. I'm already on Colin's side, and he's not even weighed in yet. Mad Mag might sound rubbish, but can't say it hasn't crossed my mind or your mind at some point. I know it's crossed mine. I hope it is just a touch of anxiety, and there's no truth in it. Bandit, why else did we get him cheap? You explained that already. Kenny says if Tonali goes back to Milan, it means they knew he was betting and took us for mugs. Woodby Farmer, reason Derek won't travel to the States is because he's afraid he will fall off the earth. Yeah, you a flat earther, man? Come on, man. Mad Mag, that's not fair comparison. Everyone knows Diana was a hit job. Ooh, I told you, Derek. Derek, you don't even believe this, man.
Hey, wait a minute. I'm out. I'm on the fence with the Diana thing. I tell you,
Oh
Kenny,
no!
Kenny says Paul McCartney.
That's not football.
Paul McCartney. Kenny says Paul McCartney died in '67. Bended for their. Oh, I don't know. Is it for the best player? Kenny Tonali not married. He's not married. Well, yeah, that could be true too. But he does have a last though. Farmer Tonali stayed single because he preferred the odds. I love that one. Mad Mag, this channel has it all. It's ITK's conspiracies, theories, hoof fetishes. You're not getting this anywhere else. Beer Viking Tonali will be player of the season next season. Hey,
You're right.
I'm also not far from that, man. I think he will. I think he is a really good player, but we'll have to see. Niall says he could have been a part of some marketing campaigns that the club were going to do, and then they lose out on that. Not sure what that was about. Viking says I might swap him for Rafael. No, man. Rafael is a Milan player. He just runs like a chicken with his head cut off, and he scored against us, I think, but because we were so open, I mean, really. Viking says I buy the part AC Milan knew, but nothing else after that. JJ says evening all. So what's the debate in? Is the Earth later than the slope of our pitch? Flatter than the slope of our pitch. Oh man, Jason Brown, dickhead is the word if he leaves. Yeah, no, I mean, if it's, I don't know if the conspiracy, whatever, but if he ever leaves, he's got to give us like 2 seasons at least, just to be thankful. Because if he just gets up and goes, that'll be shitty. Farmer says someone in AC Milan chain of command got the wind of Tonali's issues, but did not want to know. I could believe someone didn't investigate because they did not want to know. To me, it's a little bit hard to say that they would have never known, and all of a sudden,
I just find it hard to believe that Milan wouldn't have known about what was coming round the corner. Yeah. I equally agree with Colin that PIF, with all of their resources and legal brains, should have been able to discover that and remedy it in terms of getting our money back or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that because I genuinely believe that AC Milan could not have known about it, and because I equally believe that the PIF have the resources to have discovered that conclusively, then that's why I'm saying something else has to be afoot.
Yeah. All right. Biken says no one improving are 2 very different things. Niall, due diligence is very hard to discover on Tonali's for gambling. Well, I mean, if he's betting from his phone, tablet, I don't know. He should. I don't know, man. This is kind of weird. He probably should have used a VPN.
The bit that isn't hard to discover is that, you know, when did the Italian FA begin their investigations? When was Tonali implicated in those investigations? And when were AC Milan made aware by one way or another, officially, unofficially, whatever, that those investigations were being carried out and that Tonali was part of those investigations?
Key 88 says this whole thing was uncovered by the Italian authorities clamping down on illegal gambling sites because they were losing out on the taxes. Italian FA involvement came later when Fagioli sought help. Another player that was involved, I think he's playing for Arsenal. I mean Aston Villa, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Queen of Heart, knowing and keeping silent you can never do. It eats you up, even behind the scenes. Who legally knew and kept quiet? Asking the Queen. Ronald says Berlusconi indeed knew.
No,
Derek.
indeed knew. He's dead now.
Oh, he's dead now. Yeah. Well, yeah, he's and he wasn't even the owner of AC Milan at the time, so he sold it many years ago. But yeah, I mean, they still got somebody in charge, so I guess we're saying that he might have known, or they might have known about this. Jim Stature, I believe AC Milan knew and expected a worse outcome for Tonali and themselves, so decided to sell him. Otherwise, the transfer of Sandro to us makes no sense whatsoever. Well, there's a point, but you can also say if he wanted to come to the Premier League. I mean, yes, he's playing at the club that he always wanted to play. Only play there for 2 years, I think. So maybe
he came through with a junior ranks the lot, man.
No, he was loaned out in Brescia. He was at Brescia under 17, under 16, and then played professional, and then went to unless he was the academy young
Milan player.
I'm not seeing that, but you could be right. But yeah, Mad Mag. Kenny, if he goes back, it makes us the laughing stock of football. Truly mugged off. Mad Mag, if it comes out Italy did know and sold him, what law would actually be broken, though? Genuine question. That's true.
Contractual law. That would absolutely guarantee there would have been a clause in that contract.
But what is the clause?
Are you aware of any circumstances which could alter the terms of this contract, or words to that effect? Standard.
Yeah, but what would be
in every single contract?
Okay, but what would be the clause? Title it right now. Give me a title for the clause. What would it be? You can't gamble?
No. It's just, are you aware of any circumstances? And those circumstances can be anything, including gambling.
Yeah, but if they say no,
including gambling charges.
But if they say no, we weren't aware.
Right. So then I believe that PIF would have sufficient
but you don't believe that then.
Investigatory powers to discover that.
But so you don't believe what you said earlier. You were just talking shite. Because if you believe
I don't believe what I was.
If you believe the PIF would have done an investigation and would have gotten to the bottom of it, like Colin believes.
I think Derek, I'm not. I'm sure there are contracts where there is a clause which says, "Are you aware of any circumstances, etc., which could nullify this, or whatever?" But the key point here is, if it is in, and it isn't, but if it is in every contract, then it's really not the contract that AC Milan signed, which isn't any doubt as to whether they knew or they didn't know. But if it was in Tonali's contract,
which it would have been,
right? Well, he should have been paid FUC all, shouldn't he? FA all, because he was aware. He was aware that if he got caught, that he would be banned.
Yes.
So he should have been. So if it was in the contract, then he's a lying little git. Newcastle would have had him, and he should have been paid nothing.
Right. So what happens then?
But is that legal though?
Well,
before we go on, is that legal?
So then, hang on a second. What happens then?
Well, no. The thing is, this is the problem.
So we say we're not paying you, Tonali.
No. Well, what happens then is, right, he's still contracted to play for us for 5 years, or however long his contract is. Unfortunately, so, we can say to him with total justification, well, you have, signed a contract. You knew that this, would have this effect if you are caught. Therefore, right, we are not paying you a penny for the time that you're suspended. But the problem you've got is that we paid 53 million quid for him. So we've got, it's like, no, so hang on a second, we paid 53 million pound for him. So we can't boot him out unless we can go back and prove that AC Milan also knew, and somehow we can get 53 million back from them and send Tonali back. What we're stuck with is a player who were paid 53 million pounds for on a 5-year or a 6-year contract. So what we say to him is, we're not paying you a bloody penny, but then you play for us again, right? At the end of your ban. And I would say, without a shadow of a doubt, behind the scenes, all of this thing that Eddie Howe's saying about, hey, we'll stand by the player, we'll do this, we'll do that. Eddie says that about every player. And, Eddie loves every player. We love him, we like him, every single player, right? He says that. And I get that, right? That's in a way, it's good man management because you shouldn't slag off your staff in front of the press. But I'll tell you behind the scenes, mind, that young lad, right, will have been given a right good bloody talking to, mind. A right good bloody talking to. He'll have been sat down, right, by, whether it's Eddie Howe or whether it's whether it's flipping one of the other senior directors at Newcastle, and they'll have sat down with him and said, "Do you realise what you bloody well done here? 53. If I had my business or any business, you've signed an asset or you bought an asset for £53 million to improve the performance of your company, and you can't use it for 10 months. It's diabolical." So he will have had a right great big foot up these bloody arse behind the scenes, mate. And I go back to it, he absolutely owes this club to go out on that pitch every single game he plays and give flipping 90 minutes at 100 mile an hour, mind. If there's any one player in that bloody squad who deserves to give us that, it's him.
Yep.
I agree with that.
You agree? But let me ask you, is that even legal? I mean, I believe here in America, for example, if a company can take child support from the person's wages, but they can't leave the person with no money. I mean, they have to, by law, leave him with something to live on. Well, I know that, but I mean, the law can't be changed with footballers. I mean,
what I'm saying is Newcastle, in those circumstances, were in a no-win situation.
Yeah, you're right.
Tonali will have signed that contract, will have signed it, including all of the any other circumstances clause. He will have signed that. Otherwise, we wouldn't have signed. Otherwise, we wouldn't have signed them. But that having been done, if you accept that AC Milan must have known about it, but you say you don't think. The whole argument is: do you believe AC Milan knew about the charges coming round the corner? I think because of AC Milan's position in Italian football, they must have been aware of those charges. And Colin is saying that they weren't aware of the charges. So that's what the basic argument is.
Yeah. Let me go to this comment real quick. Tristan saying, so Chris, why are you having a show slagging off a player who you should be supporting? This is why players leave club fans who think they have a right to have their say about players.
Rubbish.
What?
Nonsense.
What are you talking about, man?
Well, that's Tristan for you.
Well, wait, listen, we're not slagging anybody off. We're talking about a situation that Tonali, who has no clue of this channel's existence, and who does not know any of us, who he put himself in that situation. See, I've been nice the whole time, but your comment might set me off to slag him off for real, because I was ticked off whenever I read that that he betted in the Premier League while in the Premier League when he was getting investigated anyway through this thing in Italy. So I can slag him off if I want to, because I'm a bloody fan and I pay money monthly for players to just. It's like Simon Jordan gets criticized on everything, and that's perfectly understandable. But he came out and said this: "You're a millionaire, and they pay you hundreds of thousands of pounds, dollars, whatever, per week. The one thing we ask you to do is not gamble, and you can't freaking do that. Then there's a big problem. So
not gamble on football,
whatever
only
it is.
on
And
football.
listen, and he might have an addiction, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, even if you have an addiction, the only solution is in your hands, and you still have to move your ass, because if people might want the best for you, but if you don't take initiative, nothing is going to be changed. Right. So no, I haven't been slagging him off.
Chris, on what Tristan's saying there about players, we shouldn't criticise players. Let's go back to it, right? These are professional footballers. They're professional footballers, and they're paid the amount of money that they're paid, not solely from money that the fans pay to watch them. But if there wasn't 40, 50 and 60,000 crowds at, Premiership games, I can tell you now, and if there wasn't, millions of fans who can't get to the games, paying Sky and all the rest of it, all the money that they do, right? Those players wouldn't be getting the money that they earn. So what they have to accept, being in a public performance, is that they're going to get praise when they're playing well, and they are going to get criticised when they aren't. They're professional players, and what they've got to do and what they should be taught, right, is you've just got to ignore that. You have to ignore that. If you haven't got the strength, if you've got such a weak strength of character that if you go onto blogs or whatever else it is, or on plumbing, social media, and you see some criticism of you, and that makes you want to hand in a transfer request and go somewhere else, well, I'll tell you what, you better find a bloody club where you're not going to be criticised when you have a bad game, because they don't exist. So, sorry, Tristan, but if you're listening, what you're saying just doesn't add up, mate, right? We've all got a right to criticise because we pay for it. We pay for it. We pay to watch those players. We pay to put money in their pockets, and we'll clap their backsides when they're doing well, but we've also got the right to express an opinion when they're not. Simple as.
All right, and let's go with the comments, and we'll go to the last comment that Tristan said, who was interested as well. To debate on that. Farmer says, Derek does bring up an interesting point about Newcastle got a pretty good deal without Chelsea, Man U, or Arsenal getting involved in a bidding war. Beer Viking selling their prize asset for cheap quickly with him not wanting to leave. Something is motivated the sale. Something has motivated the sale, maybe he's saying. Bandit. Of course, Milan knew. Why else would we get him so cheap? When is right. It would be incredible if they didn't know the charges were coming around the corner. Gary Thomas saying both have a point. We will never know the truth, but it just looks suspicious. Just before the end of his ban, Milan came back into the picture. It may be just to see if Newcastle are interested. Jason Brown, I had no doubts over Tonali signing when it happened. Huge questions, and I'm half Italian. Quite obvious why the transfer happened now. AC Milan knew. Alan says, got to agree with Colin. Jury's still out on performance. And performances been nothing special. Andrew Bell, we have seen flashes of Tonali's brilliance. He's had a great game preseason in America. Started well versus Villa, and then we know what happened. Dean C, after a 12-month preseason. The 10-month actually, 10-month. He should be ready to hit the ground. Yeah, you're right. Niall Powell says he could play a Carabao Cup game midweek before Spurs game. Oh, there is a Carabao already? When you start playing that, we got to win that one. Allen says Chris, training and competitive games need competitive edge. True, that's true. Niall Powell, Saniolo was a Villa, not Fagioli. Yeah, so it's Saniolo. All right. They all sound like spaghetti to me, man. Anyways, it's late. We can say those jokes. Key 88, first time Tonali knew he was being investigated was when the authorities tuned up at the Italian training camp in October. Italian FA removed him and Saniolo from the squad October 12th. Andrew Bell, overall, Tonali's got a good incentive to come back and repay Newcastle as the club and fans for the support he's had during this time. Don't underestimate the interaction he will have had with fans. Yep. Beer Riken, you have to keep the player happy and show support, make him feel indebted. There you go. And loved. He will come back better. We all hope that and want that. Ronald says if Tonali was tooting it up like Maradona, he would still have signed for Newcastle. One thing I got to say about that. Yeah, you're right. But only if Tonali was Maradona. And to say about Maradona, who I've studied in length, he played for Napoli. When Napoli was a tiny club, now they're a medium-sized club. Big, some people might say big, whatever. But he was let go of Barcelona. He didn't play for a top club ever again. So even though he was at the moment one of the greatest, and so he was the greatest for his national team. But it's not like, and today is a different game. That probably wouldn't even be accepted. I will agree that the best, the elite, the legends, the ones that they're going to go 100 years from now, they're going to be talked about. I do agree. They get away with certain things, but certainly Tonali hasn't proven that. Bit of unfair, but it is what it is. Gary says you cannot stop paying him. He is covered by under the player union, same as when long-term injury. That's why we had to look after Matty Longstaff at the end of his contract. Queen of Heart.
That's not even strictly true, because we didn't have to look after Matty Longstaff, but we afforded him the privilege of training at the club and da-di-da-di-da.
All right. Queen of Hearts says debate is healthy. You can have differences of opinion, and that is okay. These debates are also the most healthiest. And Tristan comes back and says, yes, they were paid by the TV money, not fans. Being in 21 million a year, sponsors and TV pay over 200 million a year. That lad has had enough, and this shit is just a witch hunt for clicks. There's no witch hunt, man. What are you talking about? Watch from zero. What are you talking about? You know what I
mean? Why do sponsors pay 21 million pounds a year?
Exactly.
Because there's millions of football fans watching.
Exactly.
Who buy their products.
Yeah, and Beerbike quickly tells them that, generated by the fans who watch. Exactly. I mean, no fans, no money. It's for the fans. And the thing is, by the way, because Tristan likes arguing, he just sees one thing and he sees red. It's like a bull. He doesn't see anything else. I have also said that I believe Tonali will be one of our best players because of just believing and thinking of what he's done at Milan, being important for that Milan run to the semifinals of the Champions League that I believe Chelsea won against City. City won against Inter Milan. Inter played Milan in the semifinals, so I think he was great. And I think to me,
Tonali played for AC Milan.
I know, but Inter Milan and AC Milan played each other in the semifinals of that Champions League. He helped that team, AC Milan, get to the Champions League semifinals where they lost again to Inter Milan. So I believe he's the closest thing I've seen to Andrea Pirlo. This is how far I'm going in praising him. But if you make a mistake, again, mistake / crime, I don't have a word in between. You got to pay for it, and it is what it is. You know what I mean? It is what it is, man. It doesn't. You make mistakes like this that costs millions and millions of pounds. The club was. I agree with Colin that the club spent so much money, and also with Mighty Win saying that the club is in no man's land, because if they don't pay him, which I think legally they can't, but even if they just reduce it to the lowest and they turn their back on him, how's Newcastle going to look?
What's Tristan? What's this Tristan nonsense again?
Yeah. I mean, he's I don't know. He's saying
Sky.
No, he's not Bear. It's not Bear clicking. Sky pay the club, not fans. And who watches Sky? Tristan. Yeah, it's a little tough. A little tough to go over there. But Rosie's in the chat as well. Evening, gents. Hope you're well. And I thought Supermac was Fred Macaulay. Macaulay. There you go.
Hey, we'll have to get that Lucky Likey on
Rosie's
Dumb Show.
Rosie's Scottish. So how I don't want to. I wasn't going to ask this, Rosie, but you came on. How's Scotland doing in the Euros? What did you say, Colin, before we started? Something about Scotland.
Oh yeah. Just to everybody listening, a little bit of advice. If you get an email offering 2 free tickets to the next Scotland game, don't open it. Don't open it, because if you do, it contains 2 free tickets to the next Scotland game. Who the bloody hell wants to go and watch that? So don't open it, lads. Don't open it.
Look at Tristan again there. Let's see if you all support him this season after all this shit. Of course we're going to support him, because we support Newcastle and we want any Newcastle player to do
And
well.
you're saying all this shit you've said about him. Jude Bellingham was right. Some fans are bad for football. I said Jude Bellingham is the best player in the world, by the way. I don't know if you listened to that.
I'll tell you what, all the stick that Joe Linton got didn't do him any harm, did it?
Yeah.
He got two
that's true,
seasons or whatever it was, more stick than anybody else. He was our record signing. He couldn't have a barn door with a flipping banjo. And look at the way he's playing now. So Tristan, I think you need to, go back and read the book again. I think, mate.
Tristan is on some heavy stuff, man. What do y'all got working over there in Newcastle, man? He's drinking. He's run out of beer. He started drinking unleaded. Hey, man. One thing I'm not gonna allow is, come on, man. We got Scotland. They're gonna be all right, man. They're playing Switzerland next. When are they playing? Come on, man. There's no love. You guys are close to Scotland, man, right there. What is it, an hour's drive? They're your neighbors, man. They're your buddies. Rosie says that's none of your business, Chris. About Scotland. Oh, man. Yeah. Well, anyways, we've had a great show, folks. Thank you so much. Tristan tried to bring us down, but he's not going to. Nice to see. Get your views, though, mate. Nice to get that. Hit the like button, Tristan. Or dislike. Why don't you do that? Dislike it right now. That way, you
Who's won the debate, Chris? I thought you were going to.
Oh, yeah. It is. We're going to end the poll, and the poll is ended. And right now, with 65% of the voting to 34%, there's a percentage there missing, isn't it? But 65% goes to Colin Supermac. So, Colin, there you go, man. You won the debate, man. You won that. Hey, this is the people. This is the people.
Next.
Love it.
Hey, this is the people's channel, and people have voted, folks. So there you go. 65%. Colin won. Derek told me in private though that he said he's gonna give you an assist tonight, but not gonna happen ever again. That's what he said. So there you go. Maybe that was it. There you go. All right. Thank you so much, folks. I appreciate your support. Hit the like button on. Andrew Bell says the election was rigged. That's what Donald Trump was saying.
Yes, the election was rigged. Fake news. Let's see the poll. See the poll. You've just made it up.
Rosie says you were robbed when. Oh, there you go. Come on.
You were robbed when, you know.
Mighty Win taking the reading from the Donald Trump book. I see. Anyways, appreciate your support. Tomorrow, tune in, of course. We're going to be live again.
MTGA, make Tonali great again.
There you go. David Beach says never any doubt about the winner. There you go. All right, folks. Thank you so much. Hit that like button. Close the chat. Hit that like button if you haven't already, because it's easy to forget. We will see you tomorrow. Hoof the twat, folks. See you later.
Adios.
Grazie.